"Mom, we need to leave. Now." That's what my 17-year-old daughter whispered into my ear, right as the waiter rolled out the gold-trimmed anniversary cake, and my father raised his glass to toast. I blinked, confused. Her fingers dug into my arm. Her voice was steady, urgent. "Please, Mom. I'll explain in the car. But we need to go. Before they announce it. I'm Emily Warren. I'm 36. And up until that night, I thought the worst betrayal I'd ever face was my ex-husband's affair. Turns out the real betrayal was still sitting at the head table, wearing pearls and sipping champagne like nothing was wrong. My daughter's name is Lily. She's quiet, sharp. She watches more than she speaks. So when she interrupted a black-tie family gala packed with CEOs, politicians, and relatives I hadn't seen in years, I knew something was seriously wrong. But what I didn't know was that she had just come from my father's private study, and that she had proof. Proof that my parents and my ex-husband were planning to take my son, my inheritance, and erase me quietly from the family legacy. If you've ever trusted the wrong people, or realized too late that blood doesn't always mean loyalty, hit the like button and subscribe. And let me know in the comments. Have you ever been saved by the one person you were supposed to protect? Because what happened next? The photos, the documents, the recordings, the escape. All of it started with one decision. I looked into my daughter's eyes and said, "Yes, let's go." And that moment, that one choice, saved our lives. We walked out into the night like we were escaping a burning building. The air outside the estate was thick with summer heat, but I felt cold, like someone had poured ice water down my spine. Lily didn't say a word as we reached the car. She just opened the door and waited for me to get in. Her eyes scanned the shadows of the parking lot, alert, tense, not scared, focused. I started the engine but didn't drive. I turned to her. "Lily, what's going on?" She glanced into the back seat. Noah was still at the party. Still with them. "Not here," she said. "Not yet. We need to go get Noah. Then I'll tell you everything." Her calm terrified me more than if she'd been in full-blown panic. I drove back toward the front of the estate. The valet looked surprised to see us again so soon, but I waved him off. I spotted Noah near the fountain, chasing bubbles with one of his younger cousins. He was laughing, innocent, oblivious. Then I saw him, Michael, hovering nearby, smiling, champagne in hand. I hated that smile. The same smile he wore when he told me it was just dinner with a client. The night I found Kayla's earring in his coat pocket. The smile that said he always got away with it. I crouched and called Noah. "Hey buddy, we're heading home." "Okay." He looked confused. "But Grandpa said we have a surprise after the cake." "Plans changed," I said softly, trying to keep my voice steady. "We'll come back for cake another time." Michael approached, his cologne hitting me like a slap. "Leaving already?" he asked, too loud, too fake. "Your father was hoping to talk about Noah's school options." Lily stepped between us like a bodyguard. "We're leaving. Now." Michael raised an eyebrow. "Everything okay?" "No," I said. "But it will be." I took Noah's hand, thanked his cousin's nanny, and walked. I didn't look back. We drove in silence for a while. Noah was tired, clutching a balloon sword in the back seat. I kept glancing at Lily. Her jaw was tight, her fingers fidgeting with her phone. Finally, when Noah dozed off, she spoke. I went into Grandpa's study. "What?" I asked, startled. "Why would you do that?" "Because I heard them. Grandpa, Grandma, and Michael. I heard them talking in there after you went to check on the flowers." I felt my stomach drop. They were laughing. "About you. About how you were too busy chasing gallery dreams to notice anything." My chest tightened. "Lily, I didn't go looking for trouble," she continued. "But I've been noticing things for a while. Little things. And tonight, it all confirmed what I was afraid of. You always say we should trust our gut." And mine was screaming. She pulled out her phone and opened her photo gallery. There were scans, pictures, documents I didn't recognize, some with my name, some with Michael's. One had the title Modification of Custody Agreement, Warren/Harris. Another, Transfer of Property Evergreen Residence. The house my parents had promised to leave to me. The house I grew up in. And Michael's name was on the recipient line. They're transferring it to him, Lily said, claiming it's to ensure financial stability for Noah's future. And Grandpa's drafting a legal claim to make Michael Noah's primary guardian. My hands began to shake. He said you're not stable enough to handle the responsibility. That you're too emotional since the divorce. I pulled the car over. I couldn't breathe. They can't do this, I whispered. They're trying, Lily replied. And they're almost done. That's what tonight was about. That's why they had Michael and Kayla there. Why they placed Noah between them in every photo. They're building a case visually, socially, legally. My mouth went dry. Lily, I said slowly, how do you know all this? She looked away. I didn't just take pictures. I recorded them. She tapped her phone again, and suddenly my father's voice filled the quiet cabin. Once we secure Noah, Emily won't have the means or emotional standing to contest anything. The court will see what we see. She's floundering. She's barely keeping up. We're doing this for Noah's sake. Then Michael's voice. If she resists, we'll argue instability. Emotional stress. It'll hold in court. And with me as trustee, the house will stay in the family. I pressed pause. My fingers trembled. My jaw clenched. How long have you known? I asked, not angry, just hollow. I started suspecting something months ago, Lily said quietly. But tonight confirmed it. I didn't want to believe it either. But the way they looked at you, Mom, like you were the outsider and Michael was the heir. I stared at the windshield. My reflection was blurry. I didn't look like someone who had control of her life. I looked like a woman being erased. Lily touched my hand. I didn't tell you to hurt you. I told you to stop them. In that moment, something inside me shifted. Years of second-guessing myself, of giving them the benefit of the doubt, cracked. This wasn't just about property or custody. This was about power. About silencing me for good. Not anymore. That night I didn't sleep. After putting Noah to bed, he didn't protest much. Still full from shrimp skewers and fizzy punch, I sat at the kitchen table while Lily curled up on the couch with a blanket. She didn't take her phone off her lap. Not even when she dozed off. I just stared at my laptop. The screen felt too bright. My hands hovered over the keys, unsure where to start. How do you Google, is my family stealing my life? So I began with what I knew. Michael's email. He had always been careless about passwords. The shared email account we use for tax files and school paperwork during our marriage? Still active. Still unsecured. He never thought I'd remember it. Or maybe he just assumed I'd already given up. That I'd stopped caring. He was wrong. I logged in. And what I found made my stomach twist. Drafts. Conversations. Agreements between him and my father, some marked draft do not send, but the intent was clear. One email dated a month ago. Property transfer to finalize after gala. We'll push for temporary guardianship first, leverage finances if necessary. Another, even colder. Emily distracted with gallery. Unlikely to notice if documents are routed through Michael's counsel. So that's why they kept pushing the idea of me taking time off. That's why my father had offered to help with my finances last month. It wasn't support. It was scaffolding for a trap. I clicked over to the sent folder. Michael had been in direct contact with a family lawyer, someone I hadn't spoken to since the divorce. They were coordinating changes to Noah's educational records, positioning him as primarily residing with paternal family, as if that were already fact. I closed the laptop, my pulse pounding. They weren't just planning to take what was mine. They were acting like they already had. I stepped into the living room where Lily stirred beneath her blanket. She opened one eye. You saw it? I saw enough. Lily sat up. What do we do? I hesitated. Then I said something I hadn't said out loud in years. I think we need to call your Aunt Julia. Julia, my younger sister, had left the family 15 years ago after a blow-up over money, inheritance, and the man she married. I'd believed the version my parents told, that she was unstable, bitter, ungrateful. But now I remembered the way she cried at our grandfather's funeral, when her name was suddenly missing from the will. How my father had said she didn't deserve anything after how she embarrassed the family. How I didn't ask more. I searched for her on Facebook, then LinkedIn. She was now an interior architect in Denver with her own firm. Married. 2 kids. My fingers trembled as I typed a message. Julia, it's Emily. I know it's late. And I know I haven't earned the right to ask for anything, but I think I finally understand what happened to you. I need help. I didn't expect a reply right away. But less than 10 minutes later, my phone buzzed. Been waiting for this message for 15 years. Call me. I'm awake. I called. And for the next hour, Julia told me everything. Our father had done this before. To her. To an aunt I barely remembered. Every time someone defied the family plan, he retaliated, quietly, legally, and with plausible deniability. He'd use trust to shift inheritance, custody whispers to manipulate outcomes, and public events to announce family decisions that were already sealed behind closed doors. It's not about money to him, Julia said. It's about control. About legacy. Why didn't I see it? I asked. Because you married his golden boy, she said gently. You were safe, as long as you played along. I swallowed hard. Can we fight this? Absolutely. Julia replied. But not through family favors. You'll need someone who doesn't care about the Warren name. She sent me the contact for a lawyer in Portland she had used years ago. Someone she said was immune to charm, threats, and family theatrics. Also, Julia added, you're not alone this time. You have Lily. That girl's a force. I hung up feeling shaken. But not broken. For the first time in months, maybe years, I felt like I wasn't crazy. I wasn't paranoid. And I wasn't overreacting. I was waking up. The next morning, I made pancakes for the kids. Lily came downstairs in silence, still watching me carefully. Noah was chipper, asking if we'd go back to Grandpa's later for the surprise. I smiled and said maybe another day. But my stomach flipped as he said, Grandpa said I get to live with Dad in the big house soon. He says it's better for boys. I nearly dropped the spatula. Lily met my eyes across the table. It had begun. I walked into Jennifer Reeves' office just before noon the next day, clutching a manila folder like it was a life raft. Her space wasn't flashy. No mahogany desks, no skyline views. Just clean lines, legal pads, and the kind of quiet that made you sit straighter. Jennifer greeted me with a firm handshake. No smile. No small talk. She gestured for me to sit and got right to it. Julia briefed me. She says you've got recordings, photos, and a daughter with better instincts than most adults I know. I slid the folder across the desk. She's not wrong. Jennifer opened it and started reviewing the contents like a surgeon looking at a scan. Her pen tapped lightly against the custody draft. Her brow furrowed when she saw the property documents. When she reached the email screenshots and Lily's transcript audio clips, she stopped tapping. This, she said slowly, is not just family drama. This is calculated. She flipped to the page with Michael's drafted email. Your ex and your father are building a case to prove you're unfit for full custody, likely to gain full control of Noah and the Evergreen property. That house was supposed to be my inheritance. I whispered. It's where I grew up. Jennifer nodded. And now they want it in Michael's name, under the argument that he's the more stable guardian. I stared at the grain in her desk. My voice shaking. But I've never missed a mortgage payment. I work 2 jobs. I'm raising both my kids without help. How can they say I'm unstable? Jennifer didn't blink. They don't need it to be true. They just need it to look true. That sentence made the room tilt slightly. What do we do? I asked. She sat back, fingers steepled. First, we file a motion to freeze any property transfers tied to your name until further review. Then we prepare a counterpetition documenting coercive intent, based on these recordings, and the strategic placement of your son during public events. You mean the photos? I mean the staging. Them placing Noah next to Michael and your father at a public celebration is not random. It's visual positioning, intended to show Noah as aligned with their household. I felt sick. They were already rewriting our family story, one posed photo at a time. And Lily? I asked. They're ignoring her. Discrediting her, even. Jennifer looked at me sharply. Of course they are. She thinks for herself. That's dangerous to men like your father. She began typing rapidly. We'll document every instance of coercion or alienation. Gifts with strings attached. Promises made behind your back. Any attempt to manipulate Noah into believing you're inadequate. I thought of Noah's words that morning. Grandpa says boys need structure. That maybe you'd feel better if I wasn't here so much. He looked up. Is that true, Mom? Am I making things harder? He's only 9, I said quietly. He doesn't know what they're doing. That's why we get ahead of it, Jennifer said. You're not just protecting your rights. You're protecting how your children remember this. I blinked fast, trying to stay composed. Then Jennifer did something I didn't expect. She leaned forward and asked, "Do you want custody? Or do you want control back?" I didn't understand the question at first, but the way she said control with weight made me pause. For so long, I whispered, I've been trying to prove I'm worthy of love, of respect, of inclusion. I didn't even notice I was handing over pieces of myself, just to be seen as part of the family. And now, she asked. I took a breath. Now I want peace. And I want my kids to grow up knowing that love doesn't come with strings. Jennifer nodded. Then let's make sure the court sees your story before they can rewrite it for you. We spent the next hour building the outline, restraining transfer of assets, filing notices of custody interference, scheduling a preliminary family therapy intake for Noah, something Jennifer said would look proactive, and also help uncover what had already been said to him. By the time I left her office, I felt like I had armor on. But that didn't stop the next blow from hitting hard. That evening, just after dinner, I got a text from Michael. Your father and I would like to formally propose a revised custody schedule for Noah. We believe more time with us, especially during the school year, would be in his best interest. Let's keep this civil. We can provide more than just love. More than just love. As if that wasn't already everything. I didn't reply. Instead, I walked into the living room where Lily was helping Noah with his science project. She looked up, saw my face, said nothing, but I knew she knew. She had known before any of us. Lily, I said, can you help me organize everything we have so far? She nodded, and in that moment I realized I wasn't fighting this alone. The invitation arrived on a Tuesday afternoon. A letter, yes. An actual printed letter sealed with the Warren family crest like we were still living in the 1800s. Inside, a polite request for a private family conversation at the estate that coming Saturday. It was signed, Douglas and Helen Warren, with the hope of restoring harmony for Noah's future. Harmony? What a convenient word for manipulation. Jennifer warned me not to go alone. Bring a witness. Or better, don't go at all. Make them put everything in writing. But I needed to see it for myself. I needed to look my parents in the eyes and see if there was even a sliver of doubt. A flicker of guilt. I told Lily I was going. I'm coming with you, she said immediately. I didn't argue. That Saturday, we drove back to the estate we had fled just weeks before. Same iron gate. Same manicured lawn. But this time it felt like enemy territory. The front door opened before we knocked. My mother stood waiting, flawless in beige cashmere, pearls perfectly set, smile carefully managed. Emily, she said. Lily, come in. She didn't hug us. We were ushered to the library, where my father and Michael were already seated. Noah wasn't there. The moment we sat down, my father began. We're glad you came. We were hoping to clear the air. Let me guess, I said. You mean explain why I'm being erased from my own family's legacy? My mother flinched slightly. My father didn't. Emily, he said calmly, you've always let emotion cloud your judgment. This isn't about erasing anyone. It's about protecting what matters. Like transferring my inheritance behind my back? Rewriting custody agreements? Grooming Noah to believe he belongs here more than with his mother. Michael leaned forward, palms up, like some kind of mediator. No one's trying to hurt you. This is about structure. Stability. We're offering a path where everyone wins. Lily scoffed. Except Mom. My father's eyes shifted to her. Lily, you're young. You don't understand the weight of legacy. She met his gaze without blinking. Legacy doesn't mean anything if you have to destroy people to keep it. That silenced the room for a beat. Then my mother smiled, thin and tired. We understand that you're upset. But if you continue this legal posturing, you're going to damage the family beyond repair. I'm not damaging anything, I said coldly. I'm defending myself. And my children. Michael tried again. Emily, think long-term. Noah's education. His future connections. You can't offer what we can. Funny, I said. Because what he needs right now is safety. And a sense that his family isn't lying to him. My father stood, walking to the bar cart, pouring himself a drink. He spoke without turning around. You always had to do things the hard way. I stood too. Lily followed. Then let me make this easy, I said. We won't be part of your vision. We're not pawns. We're not assets. And this little performance. I gestured around the room. This isn't reconciliation. It's strategy. I walked toward the door. Emily, my mother called behind me. If you walk away now, don't expect to be welcomed back. I turned slowly. I don't want back in, I said. I want out on my terms. As we left, Michael's voice followed us down the hall. This could have been simple. It never was. That evening, Noah came home from his dad's house with a new phone and a model spaceship worth over $200. I'm going to live with Dad full-time soon, he said casually. Grandpa says it's better for everyone. I froze. Lily stood in the doorway, arms crossed. Did Grandpa tell you that? She asked gently. Noah nodded. He says it'll help Mom focus on her art again. That was their line now. Freedom for me. What they really meant was freedom from me. I sat with Noah on the floor, spaceship between us. Noah, I said softly, do you like living here with me? He looked uncertain. Yeah. But Dad's house is bigger. And Grandpa says he can help with school stuff. That weekend, when Michael dropped Noah off, he lingered at the doorway. You know, he said casually, Noah's really thriving with structure, a routine. And the house is big enough for both kids, if you ever want time to focus on your career. It was framed like a favor, but it felt like a claim. I smiled, hiding the crack in my heart. You know you don't have to choose, right? That it's okay to love all of us and still have your own feelings. He shrugged. I don't know. Everyone keeps telling me different things. Lily knelt beside us. Then we'll stop telling, she said. And just listen, okay? Noah nodded slowly. That night, I updated Jennifer on everything. She was already preparing an injunction to block unauthorized custody modifications. We discussed filing for an emergency order if they escalated further. Then she said something that stuck with me. Emily, it's not just about beating them legally. It's about reframing the narrative. Right now they're telling a story. You need to tell a stronger one. So I opened a new folder on my desktop. I labeled it, My Story, Not Theirs. And Lily? She started organizing every recording, photo, and statement like she was building a trial case herself. I didn't know where this would end, but for the first time I wasn't afraid of how it would unfold, because they no longer controlled the story. By the following week I had a new routine. Wake up, make breakfast, take Noah to school, answer gallery emails, meet with Jennifer, review evidence with Lily, sleep if my mind allowed it. But something had changed. I wasn't just reacting anymore. I was creating. For the first time in years, I was in control of my own story. The turning point came during a gallery board meeting. I hadn't expected to be asked to speak. But then one of our newer patrons, a quiet woman named Rachel Lawson, said, Emily, I heard your name mentioned at a fundraiser last week. Something about family drama? Someone said you're stepping away from the gallery. I blinked. The rumor had started. And I knew exactly who planted it. I straightened my spine. That's not accurate, I said evenly. I've had personal matters to handle, but I'm fully committed to this space. And I've never been more inspired to create. And that was true, because I had just started sketching again late at night in the quiet. But this time the drawings weren't abstract. They were precise. Personal. A girl between shadows. A woman trapped in a frame labeled Legacy. Lily saw them on my desk one morning. Are you going to show these? She asked. Maybe, I said. When I'm ready. But Lily had already taken pictures. And 3 days later, I got a call from an independent curator downtown. We saw some of your new work, she said. It's raw. It's honest. People need to see this, Emily. At first I hesitated. Was it too personal? But then I remembered Jennifer's words. Reframe the narrative. So I agreed. The exhibit was called Unframed. It wasn't about names or scandals. It was about control, identity, boundaries. And it struck a nerve. The night of the opening, the small gallery buzzed with quiet murmurs and long stares. People didn't need captions. They felt the weight. And then, just as I was stepping away from the third installation, someone tapped my shoulder. I turned. It was Samantha. I hadn't seen her in 15 years. She looked older, wiser, but her eyes were unmistakably the same, full of clarity, full of pain and pride. "You did it," she said. "I'm doing it," I replied. Still. We hugged. It wasn't dramatic. It was solid, healing. She introduced me to her wife, Melissa, and their teenage son, who immediately bonded with Lily over music and a shared hatred of small talk. Later that night, as we sat on my tiny porch drinking iced tea from mismatched mugs, Samantha told me the part of the story I hadn't known. "Dad tried to cut me off too," she said. "But I didn't fight back with lawyers. I just left." She stared at her glass. "And I lost almost everything, family, friends, you." "I'm sorry," I whispered. "So was I," she said. "For too long." She looked at me seriously. "But you're rewriting it. You didn't disappear. You're standing in the middle of the storm." At that moment my phone buzzed. It was a message from Jennifer. "Call me. Now." I stepped inside to take it. Looking back, there were moments. Kayla would avoid eye contact when things got tense. She flinched when Michael raised his voice at Noah. She laughed too hard when people joked about perfect family plans. I didn't notice it then, but now it makes sense. She wasn't fully on board. She was just quiet. Jennifer's voice was sharper than usual. "I just got word from a contact. Michael is backing out." "What?" "Apparently his fiancée's parents got wind of the custody petition. They don't want any part of it. And Kayla's threatening to leave if he keeps weaponizing a child." I sat down slowly. "So he's done." "He's scared," Jennifer clarified. "Not done. But this gives us leverage. He's no longer the confident golden boy. He's damage control." I glanced at the living room. Lily and Samantha were deep in conversation. Noah was on the floor sketching next to Melissa. For the first time in forever, the house felt whole. The next day Michael texted, "Let's meet. Just us. I want to fix this." I didn't reply right away. I let him sit in silence for 2 days. When I finally did respond, it was simple. "We can meet with counsel present. I don't do secrets anymore." He agreed. We met at a coffee shop. Neutral ground. He wore a suit but looked tired. Less polished. Less invincible. "I didn't think it would get this far," he said. I sipped my coffee. "You mean you didn't think I'd fight?" He didn't deny it. "I thought your parents would handle everything. They usually do." I looked him straight in the eyes. "You don't get to hide behind them anymore." He swallowed. "I'll withdraw from the property transfer. And I won't pursue custody. Just let's keep this private. For the kids. For everyone." And that was the moment I knew. They only value silence when it protects them, not when it heals others. I didn't agree to anything. I handed him a contact card. Jennifer Reeves. Any further communication goes through her. The conference room was colder than expected. Not physically, but emotionally. It was the kind of cold that came from people trying too hard to act like nothing had happened, like they weren't caught. Across from me sat Douglas and Helen Warren, my parents. Still composed. Still dressed like royalty. But their posture had shifted, less entitled, more guarded. Next to them, Michael. Silent. Tense. Not making eye contact. On my side of the table. Jennifer, calm as ever. Samantha, poised and unsmiling. And at the head, flanked by a folder thicker than any child should carry, sat Lily. She didn't wear a suit. She wore her favorite black hoodie. But her spine was straighter than anyone's in the room. Jennifer began. "We're here to finalize the resolution between Ms. Warren and the Warren family regarding custody arrangements, inheritance disputes, and unlawful attempts at financial manipulation." My father scoffed quietly. Jennifer ignored him. "The agreement confirms all property, including the Evergreen estate, stays with Emily. Michael withdraws all guardianship claims. Both children are equal in all trusts with third-party oversight. All future contact goes through counsel." Silence. My mother looked wounded. "I don't understand how it came to this. We only wanted what was best for the family." "You wanted what was best for your version of it," I said quietly. My father's jaw tightened. "We built everything you have." "No," I said. "You built walls. I built the escape hatch." Jennifer slid the paperwork across the table. "Please sign." Michael signed first. No argument. No eye contact. just a pen moving quickly across the page. My mother hesitated. I never thought you'd turn on us like this. You turned first, I replied. You just didn't think I'd notice. Then Lily stood. Not angrily. Not dramatically. Just with calm precision. She opened her folder and laid out 4 photographs. Each one from the gala. Each one showing no opposition between Michael and my father. Me cropped out. Her entirely absent. Visual staging, she said. Repeated. Intentional. Undeniable. Then she laid down a final page. A printout of a message my father had sent to Michael recovered from Lily's phone backup. He left his phone unlocked at Grandpa's once, Lily said quietly. I backed it up. Just in case. By the time she realizes it'll be done. All she can do then is scream. And no one listens to screaming women anymore. The room froze. My mother went pale. I told you not to put that in writing, she muttered to my father. Jennifer calmly pushed the signature page forward again. This time, my parents signed. Lily gathered her papers without a word. As we stood to leave, my father made one last attempt. I hope you're satisfied. You've driven a stake through this family. Lily turned to him. Voice steady. Expression clear. You did that. We just refused to pretend it didn't happen. In the months that followed, things changed. Slowly. Quietly. Permanently. I kept the evergreen house but chose not to live in it. Too many memories. Too many ghosts. Instead, I sold it. Used the money to buy a new place smaller but ours. Noah adjusted. The promises of pools and ponies faded once he saw that I wasn't going anywhere. He still visited his grandparents, now under supervised agreements. But he asked more questions now. And he knew I would always tell the truth. Lily flourished. She turned her case files into a scholarship essay that earned her early admission to Stanford. She wants to study law. Of course she does. Samantha visited often. We became sisters again. Not just legally but emotionally. And Michael? He faded from the narrative. When manipulation no longer worked, he disappeared. 1 year after the conference room meeting, Lily and I sat on the back porch of our new home. She was sketching. I was drinking tea. You ever think about what would have happened if we hadn't left the gala that night? She asked. I nodded slowly. All the time. I think. I would have said something anyway. Eventually, she said. I believe you, I replied. But I'm glad you didn't wait. She looked up. What did you learn from all of it? I thought carefully. That love without boundaries isn't love. It's leverage. That legacy is worthless if it means losing yourself. That silence might keep the peace, but only for the people causing the harm. She smiled. That's a lot. Yeah, I said. But it was worth learning. We sat quietly for a moment. Then I turned to her. You saved me, you know. She shrugged. You would have figured it out. No, I said. You saw what I didn't. And you stood your ground. She looked at me with that quiet intensity one had come to admire more than anything. You raised me to pay attention, she said. You just forgot to pay attention to yourself. If this story resonated with you, if you've ever had to rebuild after being betrayed by the people who raised you, you're not alone. Drop a comment. Tell your story. And don't forget to subscribe. Sometimes the loudest power comes from finally saying no more.